What's going on, Team Kace? I'm Kace. This is Be Extraordinary, and you are in for a great video today.
This is not just ordinary. This is not just ordinary.
Welcome to VlogTober, where I am vlogging for 31 days in a row. Every day in the month of October, there's gonna be a vlog. So I need you to come back to my channel for the next few days. And even if it's past October and you're just finding my channel, man, go ahead and grab some popcorn. Grab your favorite snack. And I need you to binge watch my videos, all right? I want to introduce to you guys Gizmo, because he's my partner in crime. He's gonna be, you're gonna see him on the vlog quite a bit, and he is such a personality. And maybe I'll do like a little video with Gizmo, like a pet tag. Somebody gave me that idea before. You see that, y'all? He just wants food all the time. So recently in the news, we've been, I know unless you've just been living under a rock, you've seen all the NFL protests and things like that about Donald Trump and people who are taking a knee. I stand with Cap and all that stuff. And I don't want to necessarily talk about that today specifically, because I could go on and on about that, but I do want to address some of the things that I see on social media on how people deal with those who are affected by injustice. So today I kind of want to talk about things that we probably need to stop saying to people who are affected by injustice. Now, when I say injustice, I'm mostly talking about police brutality and unfairness and racial divides in our country, which we know is very, very real. I've been reading on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and there's just some comments that I see, man, that I'm like, why don't people get it? Like, the people who are speaking out against injustices, which by the way have always existed, they just want they just want an equal chance. They just want their sons to come home that night. They don't want to get a phone call that they flinched the wrong way and the police shot them or something. That's all. They just want to live and thrive and survive, and people feel so threatened by that. I want to talk about things that I see as common responses to people who are raising the issue of social justice, just so we can be aware of the other side of this argument. Now, maybe you're on the side where you're like, yeah, police brutality is, you know, a thing and we need to fight against it. And, you know, as we know, the stats tell us that even though whites and blacks pretty much commit the same amount of crime, that blacks are 25% more likely to be stopped by the police and killed, okay? Those are just numbers. So maybe you're on the side that says, yeah, we got to do something about it. I stand with Cap. Or maybe you're on the side where you're like, no, I back the blue. We got to stand with our cops. But before I start this video, I would like to challenge us to have a view of both. Why is it so hard for people to have both? To recognize police brutality and injustices in America, and also appreciate the cops that do a good job, because that's where I stand. Like, I have a brother who's a policeman. I don't hate police, you know. The good cops need to be awarded. We need them. But we also know that we have rogue cops that kill innocent people. They abuse their authority. Those people need to be held accountable, so we can appreciate good cops and hold the bad ones accountable. It's not really that hard of a concept, but people just don't get it. So here are 5 things that I think we need to stop saying to people who are affected by injustice. The number one thing is arrogantly assigning your views to them without even trying to understand their situation. Like, I see this so much. If somebody comes out and says, you know, oh man, I got stopped by the police today and thank God, you know, I got away free, but he almost shot me, or whatever views they have of whatever they're going through. Or maybe maybe they knew somebody that got shot by the police, and they're bringing it out saying, wow, he didn't have to die, the police was in the wrong. Whatever they're saying, I see a lot of people that automatically say, well, you know, you're making it up, you're just overreacting. You know, the truth of the matter is race relations are better in America than they've ever been, and some people just don't want to work and all they want to do is sit around and smoke weed all day and go to rallies. And you know, if somebody got pulled over and got shot, then they must have done something. I mean, there's so much arrogance and so many assumptions in that response that it's unbelievable. First of all, you don't even know the people. Second of all it takes is a moment to say, wow, I wonder what that must feel like, to feel as if you're not even welcome in your own country. I can't imagine what that will feel like. But what I see is people don't even try to relate. They don't even try to relate. They just go straight to, well, anyway, you're overreacting. Why not just take a moment and say, wow, that must be hard. How hard is it, people? I am not an Indian woman. But if there is an Indian woman on there that says, look, I was in the grocery store today and this is what happened and I feel this and that, it will be so disrespectful for me to get on her post and say, oh, you're just making that up. America is the greatest nation on this earth. And if your perceived racism was probably wrong. If they kicked you out the store, you deserved it. You know, why not at least just try to empathize with her? Now, my theory is that a lot of people just don't have empathy. And you can study that because people that lack empathy are typically psychopaths. But how can we ever move this conversation forward if we don't even try to feel what the other person is going through? We just jump over their feelings and keep going like it ain't nothing. Anyway, the second thing that I think we need to stop saying to people who are affected by injustice is stop deflecting to other issues. If there are groups that, first of all, let me break this down because some people just don't get this. There are different groups for different causes. For example, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, I think, is mostly, correct me if I'm wrong, mostly for breast cancer. You have organizations that are for boys who don't have fathers in the home. Their organization is just focusing on that. You have another organization that is tackling hunger. You have another organization that is tackling police brutality. You have another organization that's tackling gang violence. You have another organization that's tackling abused wives or battered wives, and it goes on and on. All of these organizations have different missions. And so when people deflect, they say stuff like, well, yeah, well, if you're so concerned about Black Lives Mattering, what about all the people that died in Chicago? And my question is, what about them? Those are two different issues. And I guarantee you there are tons of organizations that are fighting violence in Chicago. I met a guy personally who came to El Paso who said, look, I run a whole program every year to get kids off the street. And we're trying to reform our streets. They have people that are doing that. They have organizations that is focused on that. Black Lives Matter, from what I understand, was focused on police brutality. That is their mission. That is why they exist. That is what they do. And people have a problem with what they do. That's like going to somebody who has a home for battered women to come when they get beat up by their husband, saying, well, if you really cared about people getting beat up, you need to get the kids that's getting beat up. Women ain't the only one that's getting beat up. Men are getting beat up. People are beating up their pets. If you really care about people getting beat up, why don't you have men in here? Why don't you have pets in here? Why don't you have all this? Well, because their mission is for women who are getting abused, not men and dogs and puppies. And yeah, that's wrong. But there are organizations for that. So people always like to deflect this conversation. Well, if Black lives really mattered, that's crazy to me. And then I want to say this just to cover it, because I know someone's going to say, but it's true if they really care. But how do you know that Black Lives Matter isn't contributing to the violence that's in Chicago? How do you know? People don't even do research. They may have given tons of money to organizations that fight that violence in Chicago. You don't know what they're doing, but people just make these wild assumptions that, well, if they really care. And my thing is this: why can't we do two things at once in America? Why can't Black Lives Matters be against police brutality and at the same time help other organizations that are getting our youth off the street? Why can't they do both if they want to? And even if they wanted to do one, what's wrong with that? And the people that are so concerned, my question is, what are you doing to help the violence in Chicago? Because an issue that affects one person affects all of us. Another thing that I think people do a lot, and this is why I respect Kaepernick for taking a knee, because he took a knee in order to bring awareness to the issue of police violence and injustice in America. But I think a lot of the conversation on Facebook is around the act of taking a knee as opposed to the issue. And you know, I had somebody on my Facebook page say, well, I just don't get it. I don't get why Kaepernick took a knee. And what I had to tell them, well, the very fact that we are having a conversation about this proves why he took a knee, so that we can have a conversation about the issue. But I think in America, we're so stuck on the act of, well, he took a knee, he could have stood, why did he disrespect the flag, that we don't talk about why he took a knee. That's the issue. Why don't we talk about the issue he's kneeling for? And the issue he was kneeling for is because police have unjustly killed people of color and have walked away free men and women behind it. They just pull up to a car and shoot them dead for no reason. And they get off with no jail time, no probation, no kind of fines. They just get to go home to their family every night while people of color are burying their kids. That's why he kneeled. But we're not even talking about that issue. We're talking about the fact that, you know, he kneeled instead of standing. And somebody brought out a good point when they said, what are you really mad about? Are you really mad because Kaepernick, because of the issue he took a knee for? Or are you really mad that he's disrespecting the flag? Because you can take a knee for the reason of, well, veterans aren't treated right in this country, and I'm going to take a knee until they get all the health care they need. They served our country and they're just not treated right. I'm going to take a knee for that. Would you still feel the same way about him disrespecting the flag if he took a knee for veterans? But I think the answer is no. I don't think people will be as upset at that. I think if he took a knee for veteran care, I think people would be applauding that. But the fact that I think he took a knee about an issue that people don't think is an issue is the real issue, if that makes sense. So the fourth thing is assuming that people who deal with racial or a victim of injustice, assuming that they're a bad person. I see it so many times where you'll have a young kid that was shot dead by police, and you'll have a video, and the video will clearly show that the kid had his hands up or something, and you know, maybe he was scared so he shook his hands a little bit or something, or he just went to walk and they shot him, and people will see the video and still say, well, we don't know the whole story. My question for you is, how much more of the story do you need to hear? You see the video snippet, very clear that the kid was doing nothing and he just got shot down like a dog. What part? Do you need us to go back to when he was born? Well, this kid was born down in Houston, Texas in 1985, and he was approximately 30 years old, and he came up through this school and he came up through that school, and then on this particular day he found himself at a 7-Eleven where he encountered a cop. Like, what part of the story do you need to know? If you see a video in a moment where a person is shot unjustly, that's all we need to know, that an innocent human being has died. And I'm sorry, somebody not reacting the way the cop thought they should react is not a good reason to shoot them. The fifth thing I want to talk about, and last thing, is, you know, when people automatically assume that they're a horrible person because they fell victim to this injustice or something, saying, well, they must have done something wrong. Well, why else would a police shoot them if they didn't do anything wrong? Well, a police would shoot them because police are human, because they make mistakes, because policemen have stuff in their heart they might not even know is there. But we cannot assume that when people die and you see a video of them dying, that all automatically they must have, you know, been a horrible person. And this is the part that I hate that people do. They dig up their past. They you know, it could be a traffic stop where the guy didn't put his hands up fast enough and got shot and killed, but then what they do is they dig off in his past and they say stuff like, well, you know, back in 95 he did owe a traffic fine that he never paid and spent the night in jail because of it, so really he wasn't innocent. But the thing about it is, what does a traffic fine or having something on your record from years ago, how does that automatically qualify you for death? You know, I don't care if he went to jail and did his time. I know people who's gone to jail and done their time and paid their dues to society. It's like, if any of them ever get stopped by the police, it's like, well, they weren't angels. I had a guy say that to me the other day, like, well, every non-conviction was well deserved because they weren't angels. And I said, I said, well, sir, I beg to differ, because Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old kid playing outside with his toy gun at a park who was shot within like 3 seconds of the police arriving. He was an angel. And even if he had stolen a library book or was tardy to class in the kindergarten or 3rd grade, that still does not give you a reason to kill him. Oh, well, he deserved to die because, you know, he didn't pay that traffic fine back in 95, so hey, he should have paid the fine. He's a criminal, he needs to die. That is the most insensitive thing I have ever heard in my life. These people, the police are not the judge, jury, and executioner. They're supposed to protect and serve. And my question to all the people, and I asked it earlier, I asked it again, to all the people who have an issue with Kaepernick taking a knee, well, if he really wants to do something that makes a real difference. Well, he gave a few $1 million to organizations that are actually fighting these kinds of injustices. But if you care so much about it, my question is, what are you doing to help the Black community stop killing each other in Chicago? Since you're so concerned, what are you doing to make sure that, you know, if they were raised in a better home and they had home training and their mom wasn't on drugs, whatever you think about it, what are you doing to stop it? Because one issue that affects one of us affects all of us. What are you doing? And I bet you, if we're honest with ourselves, the answer is we ain't doing anything but talking on Facebook. We call those keyboard snipers. Somebody sit behind the keyboard and lash out all this hate. And it's just one of those things. So thanks for watching today's video. I just wanted to talk about that because it's a hot topic issue, man. It's real. Look, I still love y'all. I hope you love me. We may differ on some of the things, but I mean, I think it's some real things that we need to think about. And that goes for white, Black, Hispanic, Asian. It doesn't matter what the race is. If someone is saying, you know what, this happened to me, it's wrong, it's an injustice, man, we need to do better with trying to empathize. At least try to hear what they're saying. Don't just jump over it and assume that they're being a crybaby, millionaire crybabies making all this money. You don't have the right to cry about anything, blah, blah, blah. It's almost like, look, you ought to just be glad that you playing football. We freed y'all from slavery a while ago, and we let y'all vote like 50 years ago, and we let y'all do your little Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King thing. You ought to just be happy to entertain us. Now get out there and entertain us. You ain't got no voice. You ought to be just happy with what you got. As if all these people who are making this money didn't earn it. As if they didn't get in the gym for months and months and days and nights and spent time without their family to hone their talent. As if Beyonce hasn't perfected her craft over the years to earn the billions that she makes. These people put work into this. You ain't giving anyone anything. They're not giving them anything. And so they earn their position to play sports. They earn their position on the entertainment stage. And you know what? They earn their voice. And they have a voice and a platform given by God to make a change. And that's what this vlog is about, y'all. So listen, give me a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel. I got some good stuff coming up for y'all. This is VlogTober. I'm vlogging every single day in October. It's gonna be lit. Y'all need to come back tomorrow. Come back tomorrow. But remember this, in order to be the best, sometimes you gotta do the most. Let's love each other a little bit more, y'all. All right? I love y'all. See y'all tomorrow.